Fire. It's a force that both terrifies and fascinates us, capable of warmth and destruction. Our instinct is to fear it, to run from its roar and devastation. But is fire only an enemy? Or is there more to its story? What if within the flames lies not just destruction, but the spark of new life? Let's look beyond our fear and discover fire's true role in nature. Fire has shaped our planet for millions of years, long before humans arrived. In grasslands and forests, fire is a natural architect, clearing out old growth, making way for new life. Without fire, grasslands would vanish under encroaching trees. Forests would choke on their own debris. Fire recycles nutrients, opens space for sunlight, and triggers bursts of growth. It's not just a destroyer, but a creator, ensuring the health and diversity of entire ecosystems. From African savannas to North American forests, fire is nature's essential tool. To understand life on Earth, we must understand fire's creative power. When fire is absent for too long, forests become overcrowded and weak. Debris piles up, disease spreads, and the risk of catastrophic fire grows. When fire returns, it acts as nature's reset clearing clutter, thinning weak trees and revitalizing the soil with nutrient-rich ash. The largest, strongest trees often survive while new life quickly follows. Seeds dormant for years burst to life, wildflowers bloom, and the landscape is reborn. Fire-following plants and animals thrive in these conditions. What looks like ruin is actually a fresh start of vital renewal for the ecosystem. Fire is not just an end, but a powerful beginning. We often see only the aftermath of fire: blackened trees, silence, loss. But nature's story is longer and richer than a single moment. By shifting our perspective to years and decades, we witness resilience and rebirth. Across the globe, plants and animals have evolved to depend on fire. Some seeds need heat to sprout, some animals thrive in burned landscapes. This is a story of adaptation, opportunity, and renewal. Join us as we uncover the surprising truth. Fire is a partner in life's ongoing cycle. Fire is a process, not a thing. A chemical reaction needing fuel, oxygen, and heat. This fire triangle explains why fire is both ancient and ever-present. Different fuels create different fires. Fast grass fires, slow-burning forest blazes. Nature provides all the ingredients: plants for fuel, air for oxygen, lightning for heat. Firefighters use this knowledge to control and prevent fires. Understanding fire's recipe reveals its predictability and its role in shaping ecosystems. Fire is not chaos, but a natural process woven into the fabric of life. By learning its rules, we see how life and fire are deeply connected. In fire-starved forests, dead material piles up, choking new growth and inviting disease. A slow, low fire sweeps through, clearing decades of debris in hours. This is not destruction, but essential housekeeping. The ground is left open and fertile, ready for rain, sunlight, and new life. The forest breathes again, free from the weight of its past. Fire's first gift is a clean slate, a chance for the ecosystem to thrive. In nature, clearing the clutter is the beginning of renewal. The ash that covers the ground after a fire looks like the very definition of desolation. But in the intricate chemistry of nature, this ash is a treasure trove, packed with essential nutrients. The fire has unlocked these elements, converting organic material into readily available minerals. When the first rains fall, they dissolve these nutrients and carry them into the soil, delivering a powerful dose of fertilizer. For many plants, this is the precise signal they have been waiting for. The combination of nutrient-rich ash and increased sunlight triggers them to germinate, often all at once, resulting in a spectacular explosion of growth. The forest floor has been reborn, more vibrant and full of life than it has been in years. One of the greatest challenges for a young plant on the floor of a mature forest is the quest for light. High above, the dense canopy captures most of the sun's energy. Without enough sunlight, seedlings remain small and weak. A healthy fire changes this dynamic, opening windows in the canopy so direct sunlight can pour down onto the forest floor. This is the crucial ingredient for a new generation of trees. This is why so many of the world's great forests are considered fire-dependent. It's a cycle of renewal that allows the forest to perpetuate itself, guaranteeing that it will continue to stand for centuries to come. A landscape has hills, valleys, wet areas, and dry ridges. When a fire moves across this terrain, it behaves differently depending on local conditions. The result is a complex patchwork of burn severities, a fire mosaic. This mosaic is incredibly important for the health and diversity of the ecosystem. There will be intensely burned patches, lightly burned areas, and unburned islands which act as vital refuges for animals. The fire mosaic ensures that there is something for everyone. By creating this patchwork, the fire also makes the entire landscape more resilient to future disturbances. This complexity, created by past fires, is the key to a stable and healthy ecosystem. The fire is really a master artist, creating a diverse and resilient masterpiece of life. Plants use ingenious strategies for spreading seeds like sweet fruit or delicate parachutes. Some pine trees use a more dramatic method linked with fire. Their cones remain sealed by resin, protecting seeds until fire melts the resin. The cones open, releasing seeds onto the ash-covered ground, now fertile and sunlit. The lodgepole pine thrives through this cycle of death and rebirth. They use fire as a tool, turning catastrophe into opportunity. The Serotinous cone is a time capsule, and fire is the key to the forest's future. In the months following a fire, a spectacular transformation takes place. This is the work of pyrophytes, or fire followers. Their seeds may lie dormant in the soil for a century, part of a hidden seed bank. The fire is the catalyst that awakens them. The fire clears competitors, enriches the soil, and opens the canopy. One of the most famous is fireweed. Its seeds travel long distances, colonizing new ground and preventing erosion. They provide food and cover for insects, birds, and mammals. The fire followers are the first responders, the vanguard of rebirth. Fire beetles, also called jewel beetles, have an obsession with fire. While most creatures flee, these beetles fly towards it, sometimes from over 50 miles away. Equipped with infrared sensors, they detect heat radiation to find recently burned trees to lay eggs. The fire eliminates the tree's defenses, allowing larvae to burrow inside and feed. They play a crucial role in the ecosystem's recovery by breaking down the dead timber. The fire beetle has turned one of the most destructive forces on the planet into its greatest ally. What we see as a disaster, another creature sees as the perfect moment for life to begin. In the year or two following a forest fire, the silent, blackened landscape begins to echo with a new sound, the rhythmic drumming of woodpeckers. For these birds, a recently burned forest is not a wasteland, but a banquet hall. The fire that killed the trees has created a paradise for wood-boring insects, like the larvae of the fire beetles we just met. These insects tunnel through the dead and dying wood, and for the woodpeckers, this represents an enormous and easily accessible source of protein-rich food. They arrive in large numbers, drawn to the promise of this insect bonanza. The black-backed woodpecker is a true fire specialist. This bird is rarely found in green, living forests. Its survival is almost entirely dependent on the aftermath of forest fires. Its dark, sooty plumage provides perfect camouflage against the charred tree trunks, protecting it from predators like hawks as it works. It has an exceptionally strong, chisel-like beak and powerful neck muscles, allowing it to excavate deep into the hard, burned wood to extract the juicy insect larvae hidden within. It can spend hours on a single tree, methodically stripping away the bark and chipping out the wood in search of its prey. This feeding activity has benefits that extend far beyond the woodpecker's own survival. By flaking off the bark and drilling into the wood, the woodpeckers accelerate the process of decomposition, just like the beetles they are hunting. They open up the dead trees to moisture and fungus, helping to break them down and return their nutrients to the soil more quickly. They are, in their own way, tilling the future soil of the forest. The woodpeckers are not just feasting, they are actively participating in the forest's renewal, playing their part in the great cycle of decay and rebirth. The presence of these fire-loving woodpeckers is a key indicator of a healthy, functioning ecosystem that includes natural fire. Their populations boom after a fire and then decline as the forest recovers and the supply of wood-boring insects dwindles. They are a temporary but vital part of the story of regeneration. They show us that for every apparent loss in nature, there is a corresponding gain. The death of the trees provides the life-giving feast for the woodpeckers, whose own actions then help to prepare the way for the next generation of trees to grow. It is a perfect, interconnected system. The benefits of a fire for bird life do not end with the woodpecker's feast. The woodpeckers themselves, in their relentless search for food, become architects for other species. As they excavate deep holes into the dead trees, known as snags, they create potential nesting sites. Once a woodpecker has raised its young and moved on, the cavity it created becomes a valuable piece of real estate in the post-fire landscape. These ready-made homes are quickly snapped up by a whole host of other birds that are incapable of digging their own nests in wood. These are the secondary cavity nesters. One of the most cheerful inhabitants of these post-fire homes is the mountain bluebird. The male, with his breathtaking sky blue plumage, is a brilliant flash of color against the stark blackened background of the burned forest. Bluebirds thrive in the open environment created by a fire. They hunt for insects on the ground, and the lack of undergrowth makes it much easier for them to spot their prey from a perch. The snags provide not only a perfect vantage point for hunting, but also the essential nesting cavities they need to raise their families. A burned forest with plenty of snags is, honestly, a bluebird paradise. Many other species also benefit from the woodpecker's work. Tree swallows, house wrens, and even certain types of owls and ducks will readily move into an abandoned woodpecker hole. These snags are so important that they are often called wildlife hotels. They provide safe, insulated shelters from predators and bad weather. A single burned forest, dotted with hundreds of these snags, can become a bustling community, a vibrant bird neighborhood rising from the ashes. The fire, by creating the dead trees, and the woodpeckers, by carving the holes, have together laid the foundation for this explosion of life. This cascade of benefits shows just how interconnected the post-fire ecosystem is. It all begins with the fire creating the dead wood. This attracts the beetles, which attract the woodpeckers. The woodpeckers then create homes for the bluebirds and dozens of other species. It is a chain reaction of opportunity. Far from being a silent, empty place, a burned forest, when observed with patience, is revealed to be full of activity and life. It is a powerful testament to nature's resilience and its ability to turn the remnants of one life form into the foundation for many others. In the summer of 1988, fires swept through Yellowstone National Park. News reports painted a grim picture of destruction. Nearly a third of the park was touched by the flames. The fires were the inevitable result of upsetting a natural cycle. The story that unfolded was not one of permanent loss, but of astonishing renewal. Yellowstone was reborn. In the aftermath of the 1988 Yellowstone fires, there was great concern for the park's famous wildlife, especially its large herds of elk. Many animals were displaced by the flames. When spring finally arrived, an incredible transformation began. For the returning elk herds, this new vegetation was a feast. Scientists discovered the animals were not just surviving, they were thriving. The fire had actually improved their habitat dramatically, ensuring the long-term health of the entire population. Animals are not helpless victims. The fire created a stronger foundation for the entire food web. While modern science has only recently begun to rediscover the benefits of fire, this knowledge is not new. It is an ancient wisdom, held for countless generations by the indigenous peoples of lands across the globe. From the Aboriginal people of Australia to the First Nations of North America, cultures have long understood that fire is not just a force of nature, but a tool, a powerful partner that, when used with respect and skill, can help to maintain the health and abundance of the land. This practice, often called cultural burning or traditional fire management, is a profoundly different way of relating to the landscape. For these cultures, fire was not something to be feared and suppressed at all costs. It was a domestic tool, as important as any other for managing their environment. They saw the land as a garden, something to be tended and cared for, and fire was one of their most important gardening tools. They used it to clear undergrowth, which made hunting easier and travel safer. They used it to stimulate the growth of specific plants that they relied on for food, medicine, or materials for weaving baskets and building shelters. Their use of fire was deliberate, precise, and based on an incredibly deep understanding of local ecosystems. This knowledge was passed down through generations, not in textbooks, but through stories, ceremonies, and hands-on practice. Elders would teach the young when to burn, observing the subtle cues of the seasons, the weather, and the condition of the plants. They knew which areas needed fire and which should be left alone. They understood that a landscape without fire becomes unhealthy, sick, or feral, choked with thickets and prone to uncontrollable, destructive wildfires. Their regular, careful burning was like a form of preventative medicine for the land, keeping it open, healthy, and resilient. This ancient practice stands in stark contrast to the policy of total fire suppression that dominated Western land management for over a century. That policy was born from a fear of fire and a failure to see the land as a living, dynamic system. It ignored the wisdom of people who had successfully lived with fire for thousands of years. Today there is a growing recognition that this indigenous knowledge holds a crucial key to living more sustainably with our landscapes and managing the increasing threat of catastrophic wildfires. It is a wisdom born not of conquering nature, but of listening to it. What makes cultural burning so different from a wildfire? The distinction lies in the intention, timing, and technique. They apply fire with the gentle and careful hand of a skilled gardener. The fires they set are typically small, low-intensity, and slow-moving cool burns. The goal is not to sterilize the land, but to gently cleanse it. This is the polar opposite of a wildfire. The effects of this gentle fire are profoundly beneficial. It reduces hazardous fuels, effectively vaccinating the landscape. It recycles nutrients, promoting lush growth and better habitat for wildlife. It enhances both the ecological health and the human utility of the land. For much of the 20th century, the ancient practice of cultural burning was actively suppressed by colonial authorities around the world. In North America and Australia, Indigenous people were often forbidden from using fire, a practice their ancestors had perfected over millennia. This prohibition was based on a fundamental misunderstanding of fire's role and a dismissal of traditional ecological knowledge. The new land managers saw all fire as a threat to timber resources and property. The result of this suppression was the transformation of landscapes that had once been open, park-like, and resilient into forests that were dense, overgrown, and dangerously flammable. The consequences of severing this ancient partnership between people and fire have been severe. Without the regular, gentle cleansing of cultural burns, fuels accumulated to unprecedented levels. This has been a major contributing factor to the rise of the megafires we see today. Massive, high-intensity blazes that sweep across the landscape with terrifying speed and destructive force. These are not the good fires that ecosystems are adapted to. They burn so hot that they can sterilize the soil, destroy the seed bank, and kill even the largest, most fire-resistant trees, leading to long-term ecosystem damage. In recent years, however, there has been a powerful and hopeful shift. Land management agencies, scientists, and conservation groups are increasingly recognizing the failure of past policies and the profound wisdom of Indigenous fire stewardship. A movement is growing to restore cultural burning to the land. This involves forming partnerships between government agencies and Indigenous communities, returning fire management responsibilities to traditional custodians, and blending ancient knowledge with modern scientific tools. It is a slow and challenging process, but it represents a critical step towards healing both the land and historical wounds. This renewed partnership is already showing remarkable results. In places where cultural burning has been reintroduced, landscapes are becoming healthier and more resilient. The risk of catastrophic wildfire is being reduced, biodiversity is increasing, and culturally significant plants and animals are returning. It is a powerful reminder that humanity does not have to be a destructive force in nature. We can be a keystone species, a positive influence that enhances the health and stability of the ecosystems we inhabit. The path forward requires us to listen to the wisdom of the past and to rekindle our ancient partnership with fire. Yellowstone's Rebirth and Indigenous fire wisdom offer profound lessons, challenging our fear of fire. A landscape without fire can be unhealthy, vulnerable to catastrophe. Blackened ground is a canvas for renewal, an explosion of new life. Fire is both destroyer and creator, essential for long-term ecosystem health. Low-intensity fires are vital medicine, while massive infernos are a poison. We must learn to live with fire intelligently, using it to nurture biodiversity. The ashes invite us to be humble, recognizing nature's complexity. Even after destruction, life returns, with fire as a surprising ally. Throughout our journey, we've celebrated fire as a creative force, a catalyst for renewal, and a vital partner in the health of so many ecosystems. We've seen how it clears the way for new growth, recycles essential nutrients, and creates a rich mosaic of habitats that supports a stunning diversity of life. This is the story of good fire. It's the low-intensity ground fire that creeps through the understory, the patchy burn that mimics the natural cycle, and the gentle, purposeful flame applied by Indigenous stewards. This type of fire is honestly a medicine for the land, a process that has maintained balance and resilience for thousands of years. It's a fire that the forest understands and welcomes. However, there's another side to this story, a darker and more destructive one. This is the tale of bad fire. This is the fire of our nightmares, the one that dominates news headlines and fuels our deepest primal fear. It's the mega fire. a raging inferno of terrifying scale and intensity that leaps from treetop to treetop in an unstoppable wall of flame. This fire doesn't just cleanse, it sterilizes. It burns with such ferocious heat that it can incinerate the seeds stored in the soil, destroy the thick bark of even the most ancient trees, and trigger massive soil erosion, forever changing the character of the land. The crucial question, then, is what transforms a beneficial fire into a catastrophic one? The answer is definitely not simple. It involves a complex interplay of factors. It's not that fire itself has a moral compass deciding one day to be good and the next to be evil. Rather, the character of a fire is determined by the conditions it encounters, the weather, the landscape, and most importantly, the amount and type of fuel available. And as we'll soon see, human actions over the last century have profoundly altered these conditions, tipping the scales away from healthy fires and towards devastating ones. Two of the most powerful factors that dictate a fire's behavior are weather and fuel. Historically, ecosystems had this natural rhythm. Periodic, low-intensity fires would sweep through, clearing out the fuel on the ground. This meant that when hot, dry, and windy conditions did occur, there just wasn't enough continuous fuel to support a massive, catastrophic blaze. The system was, in a way, self-regulating. However, two significant human impacts have disrupted this ancient rhythm, and the consequences have been pretty devastating. The first is a century of well-intentioned but misguided fire suppression, and the second is a rapidly changing global climate, which is creating more extreme fire weather. The policy of putting out every single fire, which began in the early 20th century, effectively stopped the natural housekeeping service that fire provides. Without these regular small fires, the fuel on the forest floor, the dead wood, the fallen leaves, the dense undergrowth, began to accumulate year after year, decade after decade. We've inadvertently transformed our forests from open, park-like stands into overgrown, choked tinderboxes. We created a landscape that was loaded with an unprecedented amount of fuel, waiting patiently for the inevitable spark under the wrong conditions. We were, honestly, unknowingly setting the stage for disaster on a grand scale. Now add the second ingredient: climate change. A warmer world means longer and more intense droughts, turning that accumulated fuel bone dry and highly flammable. It means more frequent and severe heat waves, creating the perfect thermal conditions for ignition. It also means changes in weather patterns that can lead to stronger, more erratic winds, which can fan the flames of a small fire into an uncontrollable firestorm. When you combine the overloaded fuel from fire suppression with the extreme weather from climate change, you create the recipe for the megafires that have, sadly, become tragically common around the globe. The problem of bad fire has been dangerously amplified by another human trend: our increasing desire to live in and around nature's beautiful landscapes. More and more, communities and homes are being built in areas that were once wildlands. This zone, where human development pushes up against or intermingles with fire-prone forests and grasslands, is known as the Wildland-Urban Interface, or WUI. It's actually the fastest-growing land use type in many countries, a place where the human world and the wild world collide. While these locations offer, scenic beauty, they also place people and property directly in the path of fire. This expansion into the WUI creates a two-way problem. Firstly, it dramatically increases the risk of fires starting. The vast majority of wildfires in this zone are not caused by lightning, but by people. An untended campfire, a spark from machinery, a carelessly tossed cigarette, or a downed power line can all be the source of a devastating blaze. The more people that live and work in these areas, the higher the probability of an ignition event occurring. We are not just moving into the path of fire, we are often bringing the spark with us, introducing a new and constant source of danger to these fragile systems. Secondly, the presence of homes in the one eye completely changes the way we fight fires. When a fire is burning in a remote wilderness, managers can sometimes let it burn to achieve ecological benefits. But when homes and lives are at stake, the absolute priority becomes suppression, at any cost. This forces firefighters into incredibly dangerous situations. And honestly, it perpetuates the cycle of fire exclusion that created the problem in the first place. This complex and perilous situation makes it clear that the challenge of bad fire is not just an ecological one. It is a deeply human problem, rooted in where and how we choose to live. A healthy fire is a partner to the ecosystem, but a megafire is a true enemy. The sheer intensity of these modern blazes creates conditions that nature is simply not adapted to handle. The heat can be so extreme that it fundamentally alters the physical and chemical properties of the soil itself. It can create a water-repellent or hydrophobic layer on the surface, which prevents rain from soaking in. This leads to massive runoff and erosion, washing away the precious, nutrient-rich topsoil and clogging rivers and streams with sediment, which can harm aquatic life for years to come. The very foundation of the ecosystem is damaged. Unlike the gentle ground fires that mature trees can survive, a megafire often becomes a crown fire spreading through the tops of the trees with explosive force. This kills everything, including the ancient giants with their thick, protective bark that would have easily withstood a lesser blaze. The fire burns so hot and for so long that it can consume the entire seed bank buried in the soil, the hidden library of future life. In the aftermath, there are no surviving parent trees to provide new seeds and no dormant seeds left in the ground. The forest's natural ability to regenerate is completely compromised. The aftermath of such a fire is often not the vibrant flush of wildflowers we see after a healthy burn. Instead, the sterilized and eroded landscape can be colonized by invasive, non-native weeds. These aggressive species, which are often fire-adapted themselves, can outcompete any struggling native plants, transforming a once diverse forest into a monoculture of weeds. The entire ecosystem can be flipped into a new, degraded state from which it may never recover. This is the tragic outcome when our disruption of the natural fire cycle turns a life-giving friend into an overwhelming foe. The distinction between a good fire and a bad fire ultimately comes down to a question of balance. Healthy ecosystems exist in a state of dynamic equilibrium, a delicate dance that has been choreographed over millions of years of evolution. Natural fire is a key dancer in this performance, a recurring partner that maintains the rhythm and flow of life, death, and renewal. It keeps fuel loads in check, ensures diversity, and drives the cycle of generations. The system is designed to accommodate this type of disturbance, and in fact, it depends on it for its long-term stability and health. It is a system in perfect, if fiery, balance. Human actions have been like a clumsy intruder stumbling onto this ancient dance floor. Our policy of total fire suppression was like telling one of the lead dancers to sit down, causing the whole performance to become awkward and unbalanced. The rhythm was lost. Fuel built up, the dancers became too crowded, and the whole system grew fragile. Then, by altering the climate, we turned up the temperature in the dance hall and added a powerful, unpredictable wind machine. We created the conditions for the performance to spiral out of control into a chaotic and destructive frenzy, harming all the participants. This upset balance is the core of our modern fire problem. The catastrophic fires that we witness are not a sign that fire itself is evil, but rather a symptom of a deeply unhealthy relationship between humanity and the natural world. They are a direct consequence of our past and present actions. Understanding this is not about assigning blame, but about accepting responsibility. It is the crucial first step toward finding a better way forward. To restore health to our wild lands, we must learn to restore the balance, to once again find our proper rhythm in the ancient and essential dance with fire. Our journey through the world of fire is now drawing to a close. We have seen that fire is a complex and powerful force of nature, capable of both immense destruction and incredible creation. The story of fire is the story of resilience, but it is also a cautionary tale. The challenge we face today, with the rise of catastrophic megafires, is a problem that we have created. We can no longer be passive observers. This is a shared responsibility, one that touches all of us. The solutions include reintroducing controlled, beneficial fire to the landscape and making our homes and communities safer. This begins with knowledge. The journey from ashes to action begins with the decision to learn, to care, and to get involved. It is easy to feel powerless in the face of such enormous challenges, but history has shown us that great movements are born from the passion of individuals. A single voice can inspire conversation, and a community of changed communities can, in time, change the world. Your voice, your actions, and your choices matter. Share this documentary, challenge old narratives, and support organizations dedicated to restoring forest health. Spend time in your local forests. This personal connection is the most powerful source of motivation for creating a better future for our wild lands. As we conclude our exploration of fire, we are left with a profound sense of wonder at the complexity and resilience of the natural world. We have seen that within the heart of destruction lies the promise of rebirth, We have learned that even the most feared forces on our planet can play a vital, life-giving role. The blackened earth gives way to a carpet of flowers. The charred snag becomes a home for a bluebird. The story of fire is a powerful reminder that life is a continuous cycle, and that endings are very often just the beginning of a new and beautiful chapter. It is a story of hope. This documentary was created to spark your curiosity and to inspire a new way of seeing the world around you. We hope it has done just that. The next time you see a news report about a wildfire, perhaps you will see it with new eyes. You will see not just the flames, but the complex forces at play. You will think not just of the loss, but of the potential for renewal. And you will understand the critical difference between a healthy fire and a catastrophic one. This deeper understanding is the key to moving beyond fear and towards a more constructive and sustainable relationship with our planet. The story of life on Earth is constantly unfolding, and we are all a part of it. The choices we make today will write the next chapter for our forests, our wildlife, and for future generations. If you have been moved or inspired by this journey, please help us share this story. Like this video, leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with others who might also find it valuable. And be sure to subscribe to our channel for more journeys into the wonders of the natural world. By sharing knowledge, we can all become better caretakers of this beautiful and fragile planet we call home. Thank you for joining us on this journey. The fire may go out, but the story of life in all its remarkable resilience always continues. The future of that story is in our hands. Let us work together to ensure it is one of health, balance, and enduring wonder for all the generations that will follow. The task is great, but the beauty of the world we are working to protect is far greater. The work begins now,